stop doing anything that could be construed as free speech without a permit.
I cannot carry the Constitution without a permit?
Correct.
On Friday, January 27th, 8 days into his tumultuous presidency, a week that already saw the largest protest in American history arrive at his doorstep, Donald Trump decided to precipitate a national and constitutional emergency. We say decided because, like a bolt from the blue, he issued an executive order which banned all refugees and green card holders from entering the United States, with particular attention to banning helpless, desperate refugees from war-torn Syria and the people of 7 majority Muslim nations. The catastrophic results were immediate. Hundreds of travelers found with no warning whatsoever that they were not allowed in the country. Some had served alongside our servicemen and women in Iraq. Some were asked to hand over their social media handles and ask their views of the so-called president, Dorito Mussolini. A woman tried to commit suicide in the fucking airport. Thousands of protesters, backed by a brigade of volunteer lawyers, stormed JFK International Airport and others across the country and refused to leave, raising chants of "let them in" and "no hate, no fear, refugees are welcome here." Trump's order drew universal condemnation from lawyers, activists, military and intelligence personnel, and politicians both left and right. The critiques ranged from hastily drawn to amateur hour to authoritarian. President Barack Obama broke from his well-earned vacation to join Charles Koch, Dick Cheney, and John McCain in a chorus of dissent, and to remind the world of the national security nightmare Trump had just summoned from the depths of his incompetence. If there is a God, it must be Allah, because the propaganda ISIS prayed for, Trump delivered. If there is any consolation in this mess, it appears that the executive order is likely to unravel. The ACLU sought and was granted an emergency nationwide stay on the executive order, and a multitude too numerous to mention argue the ban flatly violates one or multiple portions of the Constitution. An alliance of 15 states' attorneys general also filed suit. The acting attorney general instructed her department not to defend the ban, and Trump, in a Nixonian Monday night massacre, removed the attorney general from his own hubristic private decision-making process on what is and is not legal. He claimed she had betrayed the administration, when in fact it was he who betrayed the Constitution and everything our nation claims to stand for. The conservative right, swimming in alternative facts and alternative reality as they are, swarmed in a Trumpwellian frenzy to deny that the Muslim ban was a Muslim ban at all. It was only temporary, they assured, though the ban of Syria, the worst humanitarian crisis in the world, is indefinite, and the words Muslim ban do not appear in the text. So, obviously, if the literal words are not in the order, it couldn't possibly exist. Except there was a problem, or 12, with this rationale. For one, a Muslim ban is the exact wording Rudy Giuliani used when describing the order's origin. That is to say, what Trump specifically asked for.
So when he first announced it, he said Muslim ban. He called me up, he said, put a commission together, show me the right way to do it legally.
He didn't stutter. Trump came to him asking how to legally ban Muslims. Rudy and company sat around a table with a team of lawyers to figure out a superficially plausible way to do it, and then they worked to implement the Muslim ban under the age-old guise of defense. Except it didn't work. The order is nakedly a religious test and easily detected as such because of a provision in the order which states that Homeland Security must, quote, prioritize refugee claims made by individuals on the basis of religious-based persecution, provided that the religion of the individual is a minority religion in the individual's country of nationality, end quote. That is to say the same thing as Donald Trump said when he announced the action and later reaffirmed to the Christian Broadcasting Network.
The refugee changes you're looking to make, as it relates to persecuted Christians, do you see them as kind of a priority here?
Yes.
You do?
Yes, they've been horribly treated. Do you know, if you were a Christian in Syria, it was impossible, at least very, very tough to get into the United States. If you were a Muslim, you could come in. But if you were a Christian, it was almost impossible.
The order aims to prioritize Christian minority groups in Muslim-majority countries, which Trump falsely claimed are shut out of the process. The statistics show roughly an even number of Christians and Muslims have been taken in. So to make this as clear as possible, Trump and Giuliani conspired a way to enact the Muslim ban Trump called for during the campaign and later came asking advice on how to enact, but to word it in such a way as to make it appear as something else, even though that was the stated intention from the beginning. They thought if they worded it in terms of defense tolerance instead of xenophobia, it would be unimpeachable. Except here, too, Trump failed. In addition to wreaking havoc at airports at home and abroad, activating a horde of patriotic American dissenters, humiliating blameless green card holders and allies who had served alongside our armed forces, and eliciting a shockwave of condemnation from at home and around the world, Section 1 of the text brings the whole absurdity of this entire farcical episode crashing down. Quote, the visa issuance process plays a crucial role in detecting individuals with terrorist ties and stopping them from entering the United States. Perhaps in no instance was that more apparent than the terrorist attacks of September 11th, 2001, when State Department policy prevented consular officers from properly scrutinizing the visa applications of several of the 19 foreign nationals who went on to murder nearly 3,000 Americans. End quote. There's just one problem, genius. None of the countries listed in the ban produced the 9/11 hijackers. Literally all 4 of them were spared inclusion in this ill-conceived draconian measure. Here again, Trump is attempting to delude and bewilder his informationally isolated followers. No Middle Eastern country that played a role in the 9/11 attacks were named, which by itself brings any argument for this executive order to a screeching halt. And coincidentally, no Middle Eastern country in which Trump owns property or does business was targeted either. Ladies and gentlemen, we have been saying since our first broadcast that Donald Trump doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. The reason is obvious if you care to look. He's a second-rate con artist who has turned a career of exaggerating the worth of his brand and minimizing the failures of his business ventures into a form of governance. Trump has no record of working in government, cannot offer any details on any policy or anything related to government when pressed, and does not have the fundamental wherewithal to coordinate his proposals with the very institutions expected to not only thoroughly understand but enforce them. There are those that believe this is a calculated effort at distraction, but I have serious doubts. This is the work of an idiot, of a clueless oaf who doesn't understand even the most basic ramifications his actions will have. Trump can galvanize his base all he likes with reckless acts of illegality that amount to scandal and failure. The fact remains he lost the election by 3 million votes, and his latest string of lies, disasters, and un-American activities further diminishes the credibility of himself and his dwindling and increasingly remorseful supporters. With this malevolent blunder, Trump has also revealed something essential about his character. He is not really, deep down, in his heart, where Kellyanne Conway implored us to look, an American. What the cruel Muslim and refugee ban does is once and for all prove that he doesn't really understand the first damn thing about this country, or its traditions, beliefs, customs, and eternal sources of strength. He is a man play pretending at president the same way he play pretended at being a businessman. Bark senseless orders, and then deflect and blame when it spontaneously combusts. Only now he's in the white-hot light of the presidency, where his every flaw and miscalculation is amplified 1,000-fold. Every day he remains there, the resistance grows stronger. As Barack Obama so serenely reminded us before the Mad King took office, reality has a way of catching up with you.